I was Trevor Mitchell, a 43-year-old construction supervisor in Denver, and I had been working at the same company for 15 years. My boss, John Harrison, treated me like a family member and said I was the most trusted employee of the company. He had raised my salary 3 times, and I was successfully managing my department. But last month, John hired his 26-year-old daughter, Emily, as a marketing coordinator. Emily was a college graduate with no business experience, but John was giving her special treatment. 2 weeks later, John called me to his office and said my position was being eliminated due to company restructuring. After 15 years of dedication, I was being terminated with 2 weeks' notice. But there was a secret that John didn't know, and I had already discovered Emily's real plan. My name is Trevor Mitchell, and I work in construction industry in Denver. I'm 43 years old and have been working at Horizon Construction Company for 15 years. I spent the best years of my career at this company. When I started working with John Harrison, he was still one of the partners of the company. He was a very ambitious and visionary man. He had hired me as a young engineer and believed in my potential. In my early years, I was very hardworking and open to learning. I did my best on every project and never compromised quality standards. John had also noticed this attitude of mine. I rose quickly in the company. In the first 5 years, I went from junior position to senior level. I was successfully fulfilling the responsibilities that John gave me. In my 6th year, John made me department supervisor. This was a big promotion and sign of trust. I started managing the biggest construction projects in Denver. I had learned that John was a tough but fair man in terms of personality. His attitude towards employees was professional, but he also had a human approach. Over the years, the relationship between us evolved from boss-employee to mentor-mentee relationship. John gave me advice not only on business matters, but also on life matters. For 15 years, I never had a major problem at the company. All of our projects were completed on time and within budget. Our client satisfaction rate was over 95%. I had become a recognized name in Denver's construction industry. I was receiving job offers from other companies, but I preferred to stay at Horizon. I didn't know much about John's private life. I knew he was married and had a daughter, but I had never met his family members. I first heard about Emily 3 months ago. John had casually mentioned that his daughter had finished university and was doing career planning. At that time, I didn't think Emily would come to the company. John was generally someone who was against nepotism and didn't embrace the family business approach. But last month, John called me to his office and said he would hire Emily to the company. He stated that an entry-level position would open in the marketing department, and Emily was suitable for this role. Initially, I considered this decision normal. After all, every parent wants to help their child. I assumed Emily was qualified. When Emily started work, she made a young and energetic impression. Her communication skills were good, and she seemed confident. She had no experience other than university education, but seemed willing to learn. In the first weeks, Emily was working like a regular employee in her department. She was taking small marketing tasks and trying to learn from senior colleagues. But from the second week, I started noticing changes in Emily's behavior. She was having private meetings with John and asking detailed questions about operations at the company. I was observing that Emily was also showing interest in topics outside her department. She was doing research on construction processes, budget planning, and client relationships. This curiosity initially seemed normal. It was a reasonable approach for new employees to want to understand the business comprehensively. But Emily's approach resembled systematic investigation rather than casual learning. She was targeting specific information and asking strategic questions. In the third week, I heard Emily making critical comments in her informal conversations with some senior employees. She was describing existing processes as outdated. Emily was suggesting that the company needed modernization and that traditional approaches created competitive disadvantage. These comments were reaching John's ears. At the same time, Emily started attending client meetings to observe. It was presented as a learning experience, but Emily's note-taking behavior was unusual. Emily's relationship with John was also rapidly evolving. It was turning from father-daughter dynamic to business consultant relationship. John started stating that he was impressed with Emily's insights. He said fresh perspective was valuable and they better understood trends in the industry. These developments started making me feel uncomfortable. I was sensing that Emily's influence would affect the established order at the company. In the fourth week, Emily prepared a formal presentation and presented recommendations to John about the company's strategic direction. I was curious about the content of this presentation. After Emily's presentation, I noticed subtle changes in John's attitude. His interaction with long-term employees started becoming more distant. Especially his communication with staff members in senior positions became formal. Casual conversations decreased and business-focused exchanges increased. In the fifth week, I learned that they moved Emily's office to a place close to John's office. Proximity would facilitate their collaboration. During this period, Emily having daily meetings with John became routine. These meetings were described as strategic planning sessions. In company-wide emails, Emily's involvement was increasingly mentioned. She was taking roles in business development activities beyond marketing coordination. Emily's rapid promotion trajectory didn't fit our company culture. Under normal circumstances, such advancement would require years of experience. In the sixth week, John made an unexpected announcement. He announced that a company restructuring initiative would be launched and efficiency improvements would be implemented. It was apparent that this restructuring was inspired by Emily's recommendations. It was presented as part of modernization efforts. John emphasized that restructuring was necessary and had critical importance to maintain competitive advantage. After the restructuring announcement, the workplace atmosphere started becoming tense. Employees were anxious about potential layoffs or position changes. Emily became increasingly influential during this period. She was providing direct input to John's decision-making process. Her consultant role had been unofficially upgraded. In the seventh week, individual meetings were scheduled. John arranged private sessions to discuss restructuring plans with each department head. My meeting was planned for the end of the week. I was trying to predict John's agenda, but felt uncertain about the outcome. Before the meeting day, I decided to closely observe Emily's behavior. I would document suspicious activities and collect potential evidence. I monitored Emily's computer usage patterns. After-hours access was occurring with unusual frequency. She was accessing confidential files. I caught fragments from Emily's phone conversations. She was having discussions with external parties. She was talking about business acquisitions or merger possibilities. I researched Emily's personal network. Her university connections held positions at competitive companies. She might have formed strategic alliances. I secretly reviewed document access logs. Emily had gained unauthorized access to confidential financial reports, client databases, and strategic plans. I analyzed Emily's email traffic. She had frequent communication with external email addresses. Attached files contained proprietary information. This evidence suggested that Emily was conducting industrial espionage. She was sharing information with external parties and compromising company secrets. Emily's real agenda was to destabilize the company and make it vulnerable to acquisition. She was manipulating her father to obtain insider information. When the meeting day came, I felt prepared. My evidence that could influence John's decision was ready. John was maintaining professional appearance in his office, but looked uncomfortable. He was planning the approach for a difficult conversation. Trevor, we've worked together for 15 years. You're the backbone of this company, and your contributions have been invaluable. But current market conditions and competitive pressures have made restructuring inevitable. Our modernization efforts require certain changes. I had to make a difficult decision regarding your position. For economic efficiency, we need to reduce the senior management layer. I'll provide a 2-week severance package and positive references. I would be grateful for your cooperation during the transition period. John's speech seemed rehearsed. Emily's influence was clearly visible. The manipulation had been successful. John, I suggest you reconsider this decision. I need to share critical information for the company's best interests. I have serious concerns about Emily's activities. I have evidence of unauthorized access and information sharing. John initially showed a defensive reaction. It was difficult to accept accusations against his daughter. Family loyalty was the dominant factor. I systematically presented my evidence. I explained document access logs, email communications, and suspicious meeting patterns in detail. John was initially skeptical, but the overwhelming nature of the evidence started to convince him. He decided to demand explanations for Emily's actions. Emily was immediately summoned. John started questioning his daughter with a confrontational approach. The evidence was presented. Emily initially adopted a denial strategy. She characterized the accusations as unfounded and claimed there was a misunderstanding. But when faced with specific evidence, Emily's story started revealing inconsistencies. Contradictions became apparent. With John's persistent questioning, Emily's real motives were uncovered. She admitted that she had received a job offer from a competitive company and had provided inside information. Emily's plan was revealed in detail. She was planning to facilitate acquisition by weakening the company. Significant financial compensation had been promised. John was devastated by Emily's betrayal. The conflict between family relationship and business ethics took an emotional toll. He made an immediate termination decision. After Emily's immediate dismissal, damage assessment began. It was critical to determine the extent of compromised information. The legal team was involved. Industrial espionage charges were potential. Criminal prosecution considerations were discussed. Security protocols were upgraded. Additional safeguards were implemented to prevent unauthorized access. Client relationships were reviewed. The potential impact of confidential information disclosure was assessed. Damage control measures were applied. John made a formal apology to me. He expressed regret for his hasty decision and reinstated my position. He offered additional responsibilities and compensation increase. A company-wide announcement was made. Emily's termination and the cancellation of restructuring plans were communicated. Employee morale gradually recovered. Trust returned to the company and normal operations resumed. Competitive intelligence measures were strengthened. A comprehensive security framework was established to prevent future espionage attempts. The legal consequences of Emily's actions were pursued. Criminal charges were filed and a civil lawsuit was initiated. John attempted to repair the family relationship, but significant damage had occurred. Trust was permanently compromised. Horizon Construction Company emerged in a stronger position. Crisis management was successful and reputation was maintained. 3 months later, Emily pleaded guilty in court proceedings. Industrial espionage charges were confirmed. Probation sentence and financial penalties were imposed. Emily's co-conspirators were investigated. Contacts at the competitive company were identified and prosecuted. John reviewed the company ownership structure. Family involvement policies were established and nepotism risks were minimized. I was promoted and confirmed in a senior management position with enhanced responsibilities. 6 months later, the business completely returned to normal rhythm. Growth trajectory was resumed and expansion plans were reactivated. Employee loyalty was strengthened. The successful resolution of the crisis positively impacted company culture. John's leadership skills were enhanced. His ability to handle difficult decisions improved. Currently, Horizon Construction maintains its leading position in Denver. Reputation was built on integrity. My relationship with John continues on a stronger foundation. Mutual respect and trust were established at a deeper level. Emily's betrayal ultimately made the company stronger. Lessons learned provided better preparation for future challenges. Justice was served and wrongdoing faced appropriate consequences. Integrity principles were vindicated.